None, we will move into item H2.1. Councilmember Pearson, would you like to explain your request?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I requested that the council consider making a resolution supporting the exoneration of the Port Chicago 50. In 1944, 50 black sailors were convicted of mutiny in declining to return to work after an explosion at the Port Chicago Naval Magazine near present-day Concord, California. After the tragic explosion occurred on July 17, 1944, killing 320 sailors, and injuring more, only black sailors were ordered to continue to load munitions in a very unsafe and shaky environment. Caucasian sailors were not forced to return. The 50 sailors who refused to return out of fear for their safety and in dealing with their own traumas were court-martialed and tried and convicted of mutiny. Their families suffered suffered in many ways. Even today, their families are still suffering. Had the opportunity to meet with them. Our U.S. Navy and our National Park System is creating a space at the naval facility that's off Port Chicago for a historical site that's going to be there. And in meeting with some of the families, I heard some of the most outrageous things that occurred. One of them, after these 50 people were represented by Thurgood Marshall and they lost in the court martial, they were revoked of their government benefits, their veteran benefits. They were not able to get the same GI Bills later on. They were completely stripped of it because they were court-martialed, and their families had to live in shame of their convictions. So a group of attorneys are working together under the Contra Costa County Bar Association in association with the families and other groups to exonerate. On, I believe it was July the 15th, 2023, Vice President Kamala Harris signed on to an agreement. And recently, the city of Concord, the city of Albany, the city of Walnut Creek, the city of Orinda, the city of Martinez, and Pittsburgh have all signed resolutions seeking out a letter from the city to support, to send to the state and federal government to exonerate the Port Chicago 50. And I think it's time that these people get their exoneration. I would ask that as a city, we also send a letter in support of the exoneration of the Port Chicago 50. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we'll open public comments.
This is the time to comment on this agenda item. If you're in person, please file a speaker card. If you're in Zoom, please raise your hand. Remarks are limited to 5 minutes per person, and your microphone will be muted after the timer has expired. And no emails were received on this prior to the meeting. I have no speaker cards, and there are no hands raised.
Thank you. At this time, we will close public comments, move open council discussion. I'm not sure who was first.
I just say I support this 100%. I mean, if you hear the stories, these men that were there and were part of it, then had to go pick up the dead bodies of their fellow soldiers. So the mental trauma alone, and then, I mean, I support it 100%. I also think we should probably send the League of California Cities should also be doing the same thing and asking all of their cities to send in a letter. It should not just be the Bay Area, it should be the entire state.
Just to speak to that, in our last mayor's conference, the mayor's conference of Contra Costa did, as a conference, send us a letter of support as well. Vice Mayor.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Pittsburgh Mayor Chanel Scales Preston spoke about it and was urging cities to take part and was urging the conference to collectively support the idea. I 100% agree as well. It needs to happen. Very overdue, fully in support.
Councilmember Orleans.
Absolutely in full support of the exoneration. You talk about the things that they had to go through afterwards and the families had to go through and the lack of benefits that are afforded them for their service to their country. It needs to be changed.
I completely agree. So at this time, do I have a motion for this item?
Mayor,
Yes.
I heard a letter of support. Do you want a proclamation or is it the same thing in your mind?
If
about
we
what
could do
send?
both.
Both.
Well, I'm sorry, it's not, I'll let you.
I'm with the mayor. I'm kind of emotional because I'm so excited, but yes, a proclamation.
Okay, so is that a motion?
Yeah. I'd like to make a motion that the city pass a resolution in supporting the exoneration of the Port Chicago 50 by sending a letter and making a proclamation.
And I will second that.
We have a first and a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
It is unanimous.